It's 10:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. You have an important deadline tomorrow morning. Your laptop is open, the document is right there, and somehow, instead of working, you are reorganizing your desk. Not all of it, just the corner with the charger cables and the 3 pens you never use. And then the stack of papers you haven't touched in 2 weeks. And then, just quickly, the bookshelf, because those 2 paperbacks have been lying on their side since March, and it's genuinely bothering you. 40 minutes later, you have a clean desk, a very organized bookshelf, and exactly the same deadline. You tell yourself you just needed to focus, that you work better in a clean space, that this was, in some loose definition of the word, productive. But the part you don't say out loud, even in your own head, is that the moment you sat down to actually work, something in your chest went tight, and the desk needed reorganizing right then, not in an hour. Millions of people do this. Researchers have a name for it, a mechanism, and a very specific reason it happens in analytical, high-functioning people more than almost anyone else. I once cleaned my entire kitchen, including the inside of the microwave, 20 minutes before a presentation I hadn't finished. The microwave has never been cleaner. The presentation was fine, just so you know. We're not here to call this procrastination. We're here to understand exactly how your brain uses the physical environment as a tool for managing what's happening inside it, and why that's not a flaw, it's an adaptation. And once you see the mechanism, the 11 p.m. bookshelf reorganization starts to make complete sense. Let's start with something your brain is doing constantly, even right now, without telling you. It's called cognitive load. Your working memory, the part of your brain that holds active information, has a strict capacity limit. Researchers at the University of Toronto found that visual clutter competes directly with task-relevant information for that limited space. Every object in your visual field that is out of place sends a low-level signal to your prefrontal cortex. Unresolved, needs attention, not done yet. Your brain doesn't care that the pile of mail isn't actually urgent. It sees an open loop, and open loops eat working memory. There's also a concept in environmental psychology called attentional fatigue, the specific mental exhaustion that comes not from thinking hard, but from filtering. Every moment you're in a cluttered environment, your brain is burning energy deciding what to pay attention to and what to ignore. Researchers Darby Saxby and Rena Rapetti at UCLA found that women who described their homes as cluttered had measurably higher cortisol levels throughout the day, not just when they looked at the clutter, but continuously as a baseline. And then there's a third thing, specific to people who tend toward anxiety or analytical thinking. Your nervous system uses something called environmental scanning. When you're in a regulated state, your brain runs passive background checks on your environment. Is anything wrong? Is anything out of place? For most people, this is very quiet. For a brain that already tends toward hypervigilance, this scan is louder, and a messy room turns the volume up. A clean space doesn't just look nicer. It reduces the number of open loops, stops the attentional drain, and turns down that background scan. Your brain doesn't want a clean room because you're neat. It wants a clean room because it's exhausted. Now that we know the mechanism, let's look at what that actually looks like inside a regular Wednesday. 3 moments, same brain, different rooms. Stage 1, the pre-task clean. You sit down to do something that requires sustained focus. A report, a difficult email, a conversation you've been mentally drafting. Before you start, you straighten things. Maybe just the surface you're working on, maybe the whole room. You don't experience this as avoidance. You experience it as preparation. Here's what's actually happening. The task ahead carries what researchers call anticipatory cognitive load. Your brain is already preloading the emotional and mental resources it will need. That preloading makes everything in your visual field feel louder. The stack of unopened mail becomes genuinely distracting in a way it wasn't an hour ago. You're not stalling. Your brain is genuinely trying to reduce the noise before the signal gets heavy. Your brain isn't broken. It's making space. Stage 2, the stress clean. Something is wrong, or feels like it might be. A difficult Slack message, a situation you can't control, the kind of ambient dread that arrives via push notification and stays for 3 hours. And your hands start doing things, dishes, laundry, a weird amount of counterwiping. This is not displacement. This is regulation. When the nervous system goes into a high alert state, it creates what's called motor activation, a physical urge to do something with the threat energy. In our evolutionary past, that energy had somewhere to go. In 2026, it usually doesn't. Physical, repetitive tasks, tidying, folding, wiping, provide sensory motor input that directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the same one that is responsible for calming you down. The kitchen isn't getting cleaned because you care about the kitchen. The kitchen is getting cleaned because your nervous system knows it will feel better with something to do with its hands. Stage 3. The chaos tolerance threshold. This one is quieter. You've been in the same environment for a few days. The mess has been building, not dramatically, just incrementally. Papers here, a bag there, the general entropy of a life being lived. And at some point, you notice a shift. You're slightly more irritable than usual. Small decisions feel harder. You're having more trouble getting started on things. What you might not notice is the direct connection between the two. Researcher Kathleen Vose at the University of Minnesota ran a series of studies showing that people in cluttered environments made more impulsive decisions, had lower self-regulation capacity, and reported higher mental fatigue, not from the tasks themselves, but from the sustained background noise of a disordered space. Your executive function runs on a limited budget. A messy room spends some of that budget every hour, whether you're paying attention or not. You're not suddenly less capable. Your budget got spent somewhere you weren't tracking. And here's the part no one tells you: what to actually do with any of this on a normal day, without turning tidiness into another thing to be anxious about. One thing, not a system, not a personality shift, just one thing you can try today, or not. No pressure. Create a visual anchor zone. Pick one surface, ideally the one you work at, or the one you look at most, and keep just that surface clear. Not the whole room, not your home, not even the rest of the desk, just that one surface. Here's why this works. Your prefrontal cortex doesn't need your entire environment to be organized. It needs enough visual field free from open loops to stop running the background scan at full volume. One clear surface can do that. It gives your attentional system a resting place, somewhere to land that doesn't cost anything. This is not about being a tidier person. It's about giving your nervous system one part of the environment it doesn't have to process. Some people do this instinctively. They'll have one genuinely chaotic apartment, but a completely clear desk, and they'll work fine. They found the minimum viable anchor zone by accident. You can find yours on purpose. The rest of the room can be whatever it needs to be. Your brain just needs somewhere to breathe. Which brings us to the part worth actually keeping. A clean room was never about discipline. It was never about being the kind of person who has their life together, or the right aesthetic, or something you read in a wellness newsletter at 8 a.m. It's about cognitive load. It's about attentional fatigue. It's about a nervous system that's been quietly filtering visual noise for hours and finally running low on the budget it takes to do that. When you clean before you can start something hard, you're not avoiding the work. You're reducing the interference so the work actually has a chance. A clean space isn't where your work happens. It's where your brain finally stops working against you. What would you be able to start if your environment stopped costing you something every time you looked at it?